So yeah, our kids are like right around the same place. Like yours is 8. My oldest two are 7 and 9, and
Hmm.
will like he's a strategist. He wants to like try to learn the tactics, but if the other team is good, he melts emotionally. But then like when we're wrestling around the house, he does this thing called like light the fuse. He tries to get my older daughter. He's like, Nora, light the fuse, and then she'll pretend to light his finger, and then he just goes crazy and like, well, I'm like, how do I convert that into?
We gotta light the fuse in the game, brother. Yes.
I'm gonna when I sub him in, I'm gonna be like, Ian, here, I'm gonna be like light
Give me
it.
your finger.
You
Yeah.
know, like that lives in me as an adult, and I think that's the thing I miss. Like even when I'm playing games now, I
Yeah.
see that thing I missed when I was, the kid. So it's almost a chance to try to redeem it or at least learn more about it.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So Tim, I wanted to ask you, with training, like you're crushing. You're 35 now, and you're just crushing it. Like, and what I mean, is there anything in the last 5 years that you feel? I mean, obviously consistency and just good hard work over time, but anything in particular that you feel has really highlighted your progress onwards and upwards with your own training?
Um, yeah, I think there's a couple things. So, um, yeah, you know what? We were talking, I don't know if we were recording yet, but your podcast, um, when I first discovered it, and Joel, this had to have been, I mean, I don't know, dude, like 6 years ago, perhaps. Like you've been killing it for a long time. So hats off to you. But you would have people on and they would talk about how they've gotten into this intuitive place of training. And it's not, they have like a training structure, but they really understand their body and what works well for them and what doesn't, and knowing when to back off and knowing when to push. And Joel, I'm not kidding. When I heard that, my first thought was bullshit. That's the first thing I thought. Because I was so far away from having enough experience and having bumped my head enough times. And, I'm the kind of person, Joel, I got to put my hand on that hot stove top more than once to figure out like, oh, that's a bad idea. I'm a learn by doing guy, for better or for worse. Um, so that being said, like, I've found like there's a lot of beauty in being able to create structure, and not necessarily play by the rules. I was having a conversation with Joe Padula. Have you had him on the show,
No,
Joe?
no.
Oh my God, Joel, that kid, he's, he's brilliant. Um, so, and we were kind of tongue in cheek talking about how training suboptimally is the best, and kind of like what that means to me is like that we have this idea of like the way training has to be structured, whether it's like high, low, or like these plyos go on this stimulus or these movements on this day because, you do these plyos on max velocity day because the joint angles are similar to the blah, 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 blah. And like, I trained following those philosophies individually myself for my whole career. And those things helped. Those things moved the needle for a long time. And then like I would get to a place where I'm like, this isn't working for me. Like I'm beat up. I'm injured half the time. Uh, you know? Um, and I guess I'm getting to that age, where I'm starting to understand like this is kind of a part of anyone who takes training seriously and either is in the trenches training athletes or training themselves or both. Like you're gonna be confronted with these thoughts and considerations and circumstances that just it's not as simple as a textbook or lining up joint angles, man. I've also like switched up journeys. So like I'm I'm obsessive. I have OCD, quite literally. It's not like, oh, my room's clean. I wish that's the way that disease worked. It's not. But I have an all or nothing very addictive, very obsessive personality, and there are pros and cons to that. One of the pros, particularly on the training side, is like I had a dunk journey that lasted like 3 years, man, and I got to just immerse myself in all the intricacies and little things that are going to move the needle and make a difference just so I can jump higher and do a windmill,
Yeah.
And like, I remember measuring my my standing vert, not approach vert, with Dan Bach. And this is like right after COVID or something. And it was like 29. And like it took me 3 years, but like I got to 34 and a half, on a standing vert jump. And like, listen, I've never been accused of being the most athletic. I've always been like kind of athletic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But for me to be able to do that in my 30s and at like 230 pounds, it's pretty sweet, And then like I got to a place where I just got tired of that. And then recently, the past 2 years, I've been on speed and sprinting. It was just kind of this new frontier. And I want to thank Trey Hardy and Mo Wells, doing that combine prep with them a few years. I mean, I always sprinted, but it was just a means to an end. Like it was something that like I identified like, oh, like if I want to jump and and move the needle in the other direction of me just being like a meathead, muscle dominant, gorilla. It's like a necessary evil. Like I need to do it and it's going to help me be more athletic. And then it just went from like this thing that I did to, help drive athleticism and, general qualities to like, oh, actually, like this is fascinating and this is intricate. And I don't really know as much as I thought I did. And so for the past, I guess, year and a half, my own training has been reflective of that of just someone. It's like, I was like, okay, what's an easy goal I can set? It's like, all right, let's see how fast I can get my fly 10. And like, I started working with Corey Bidlow in California. I was like, I got to get a sprint coach, and it can't be one of my friends. Like, it has to be someone outside of myself, And and that's the other thing too, where it's like throughout my jump journey, throughout my sprint journey, in fact, all of my training career, Joel, the way I learned, I mentioned I learned by doing. I have worked with either one-on-one or purchased the programs of so many coaches in our space. And I do that program, dude. Like, and I mean, like almost to the point where like kind of getting back to that conversation where I almost adhere to it too much, like I'm unwilling. I'm like, nope, I got it. I have to hit this leg day today in spite of how I feel, And so now I'm in this more intuitive place, but, it's, it's been a 2-part journey where it's like, I'm learning, I'm able to hold up my ideas against other people's ideas. It's always fascinated me that people can have two completely separate concepts of what matters in training and moves the needle, yet they still get magnificent results. That's just a fact. And like I think my fastest fly 10 day one with Corey dude, it was bad. It was like 109 or something like that. And I think my current PR is like a 921,
Yeah.
And, in a year and a half, dude, and listen, I never ran track. You know what I'm saying? And like,
Track. Yeah.
I train actual track athletes. And, I've got 16-year-olds that are laying down 8.8s and 8.6s, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. Because they're just like that. But the process of getting better, and then also what it's done for me from a coaching perspective and understanding stimulus and like, oh, like this is actually what I'm asking these kids to do. So yeah, anyway, I don't know if I kind of was all over the place there, but I hope I answered I hope I answered the original question.
Yeah. The one I actually, well, a couple of thoughts. One was, I think with the fly 10 stuff, and it is interesting where strength and conditioning or athletic performance is now compared to like the OOs, like or over the decades, because like 20 years ago it was very much like West Side Barbell and very powerful influenced. And now it would be almost uncommon to see a strength coach that didn't sprint like that at some point, which I'm like, this is great. And it is one of those things where one of the best pieces about it is you can't, like the weight room, you're rewarded by, you can grit your teeth and press harder and get the thing. But that is the opposite if you're trying to sprint. So it's like, it's the best part of it. And vertical jump's kind of in the middle. It's almost like the gateway because you could, stepping on that mat and getting pissed and, you could squeak one out. Maybe you cheat the landing a little bit. I don't know. But sprinting is the ultimate where you cannot.
To your point though, I let the people know. These jump tests were not done on a jump mat. Okay.
Yeah,
Everybody, that jump mat's lying to you. You do not jump 38 inches off vert. I'm sorry. You don't. It was done on a Vertec. Okay. That jump mat's a liar. That's not an accurate. It's consistent, but your high school, sophomore baseball player is not jumping 37 inches on that jump mat. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
It is so funny. It's almost like as long as there's sport and there's measuring in
Mhm.
whatever you're doing outside of like the actual like track laser timing and swim touch pads. You see the combine, you have the little hand time piece of it, which still bewilders me, but it's almost like it's wired in our systems to have some way to cheat and wiggle some.
Well, we've got to have a little control, Joel.
Yeah. Yeah. Like even like the jump mat, right? Like versus the plyo mat.
Mm-hmm.
Plyomat, it has a mode where you can put just jump metrics on it. So
Yes,
typical, which is amazing. And
it is amazing.
because if you have someone who's used to just jump and they come to your place and they're jumping,
It's devastating.
Yes, it is devastating for your psyche. In the same way that I remember this really well when I was coaching track at Wilmington College. I only did strength training for the football team there a little bit. It was like D3. A lot of people wore different hats, but I remember one year there was a local sports performance place, and they came to the football team with a laser timing system to time 40s. And all these guys, yeah, I run a 4.5, I run a 4.6 at D3, of course, right? Like that's good at D3. And then he gets out the laser, and I want to say it was like probably a thumb touchpad too, which is even
even way worse.
Guys running
4.8.
5.1, like a starter, like a legit starter running 5.0. 5051, I think.
Yeah, dude.
All D3 school, but I mean, yeah. But just the devastation of the psyche based on that. And I mean, and it's a real thing. I mean, I've seen it all the time. I see when I would go to swim practice at Cal, I would see swimmers, the coach would be like, set, and then the guys are supposed to go. All these guys are leaving the wall early because in their own mind, they want to, they have it's faster time that we play games with ourselves. But all that to say, yeah, the Vertec, that would be like 34 on the Vertec is like 40, pretty darn close on the just.
And again, just I'm going to brag about myself a little more, okay? Because it's actually not that impressive relative to the athletes I train. I did a full approach jump as well. So my full approach was 32 when I started. When I ended, it was 36 and a half. So my highest touch was 11.2. And which, dude, I don't think I can do, like, if Joel, if you and I were training together and we were talking a little shit and you were like, I think I could probably hit 11, you know what I mean? Maybe 11 and a half. But man, what a fun journey that was. But no, yeah, on that subject of the 40 times, I had a conversation with Blaine McConnell, and I'll post a video. I posted a video and by the way, it was a hand start with the Brower. Now, I wasn't giving this kid any favors, but out of a 2-point stance, he ran like a low 4.4. I forget what it was, but he's a legit track kid, laid down 10.4 in Eugene his junior year. Like he can move, right? The comment section it just turned into an absolute dumpster fire. It got so toxic so fast. And a lot of it was like either stuff like, he didn't do that. I'm like, no, he did. Hit laser to laser. He ran 8.6 on the back half of that, on the last 10 yards of that 40. He's fast. But then the other thing is like, how many people were like, I ran 4.5 in high school. I ran 4.4 in high school. I ran 4.6. And it's like, brother, no, you didn't. Yeah. If you're not cracking 11 on 100 meter, I'm sorry. You're not even in the ballpark. Yeah, it's funny what we do.
Yeah, I think, if all football players just had to run track just for that, maybe they don't even have to practice.
Yes.
Go and run it just so that's the time. But I mean, it is where if like all your buddies are saying they run a certain time, you can't be like, well, yeah, I went and actually did a laser and it actually was 96. You can't. It's just for your own like kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't blame that. I don't blame those people. I don't know. It's just, it's an interesting thing. Today's podcast is brought to you by Hammer Strength. Hammer Strength machines are designed with athlete and human biomechanics in mind. They use arcs of motion and leverage to deliver a powerful strength stimulus with little noise and maximal efficiency. When it comes to strength machines for athletic performance, Hammer Strength leads the way. Tim, I wanted to ask you too, with like the intuitive piece, because you mentioned how that's long. And I would say, for me, honestly, I'm a few years ahead of you at 41, but like, I feel like for my last Probably 4 years of training. That's the piece that's taken off the most. Just finding ways to kind of be in the moment more, not always just being like, what's the time, what's the sets and reps exactly. Not that I've ever truly been that I shouldn't say hung up, because I used to live and die by like set and rep schemes in my 20s.
Totally.
I've gotten a little bit loose over time with some of those things,
Mhm.
but it's just more to say, uh, you talk about following things to the letter, and then the letting the intuition take over. So are more of your sessions now, would you say, like, hey, I know what I'm gonna do today. Like, maybe I'm gonna hit this fly or this thing. Like, if it's you and not like you said,
Totally.
but how does that? Are you still working with a coach now who writes things for you, or are you doing your own thing and then like letting intuition take you? Tell me a little bit about that, like split.
So currently, no one's coaching me. So I worked with Corey for like 3 months, and then I worked with Matt Clark. And I worked with him for a couple months as well. And even when I was working with them, because it's like, I would get programming from Corey and Matt, very vastly different. Corey, Matt's, I believe, and I might mess this up, but I think he's the head of strength and conditioning for track and field at Kansas State currently. So like, his program, I got it. And I'm like, yes, this is like it was a little more weight room heavy and things that like, um, I'm a little bit more typically used to. But even then, it's like the volume he's prescribing, because he doesn't know me, right? We're trying to figure it out. Day one, I'm looking at it and like, I know for a fact this 34-year-old body is not recovering from what's on this piece of paper. It's just not happening. So like
Yeah.
immediately I'm eliminating some of that volume and some of those reps. And whereas in the past, Joel, if I get that piece of paper, just the way that I'm wired is like, I'm doing this like my life depends on it. Like, gun to my head, there's no way I'm walking off this track until I've run, 6 120s or whatever it was. You know what I mean? So what I've adopted and I've done this intermittently in between working with coaches. And so I kind of oscillate between like no structure, taking the lessons I've learned from this previous coaching experience, and then operating almost entirely by feel, where it's like, okay, I know based on my last session what I need to do today. It's like, okay, today is about a speed stimulus. I need to get that stimulus. I have an idea of like my total yardage and what distances I need to run in order to get that stimulus. And like, even within the context of a session, I'm not going to just run 240 yards on a max velocity or, in total cumulative yardage, just because that's what I need to do. Like if I run 3 reps and my third rep is total dog shit, like it's significantly slower, Joel, I'm done.
Yeah.
That's it. The session's over. And for most of my, and honestly, this is something in the past 2 years that's trickled down from me into my athletes, because I did this thing for the longest time where it was like, if I wrote it down, I have to do it, because if they don't get this total amount of yardage, how are they supposed to get to this total yardage next week? And how are we supposed to drive adaptation? And so what I've come to understand is that actually, particularly with the athletes that are more gifted, that matters even less.
Yeah.
It matters even less. All I need to do is give them an appropriate stimulus, and then we're good. Like we are good, and like in terms of like adding more, unless we're looking for structural changes,
Yeah.
it's really not beneficial. In fact, it can be the opposite. And so, yeah, like, and then like, okay, it's like, okay, I had this, what I do now is like, I'll pair my days on the track with my intensive plyos and lower leg training. So like maybe I do my overcoming or yielding ISOs on that day as well. So I've started to consolidate my sprinting days with just it's like my lower leg day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then like based on how I feel that next day, like that's when I'll hit weights. But if I'm still really beat up from that session, maybe I don't. Maybe I hit some abs and do like a light cardio flush and rest that day and do mobility and breathing and, you know, try and get some rib cage expansion. You know what I mean? Breathe into spaces. And then that next day, I'll go and it's like, okay, I need a strength stimulus. And I also know that I need to do enough work within a certain rep range, or at least to get a certain feel in these tissues to keep them healthy. And from sprinting and jumping and just working with athletes and learning for myself, like really what that means is like, I got to take care of my calves. I got to take care of my groin. I got to take care of my hamstrings. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And I got to make sure my ribs can move, you know? Um, and so it goes like strength stimulus, maybe like some sort of jump, not necessarily a plyo. So like I like to do like that seated broad jump onto a pad, or like, or like the more vertical version of that. Arguably they're both the same thing, but seated position, like onto a box. And then it's like I'm just getting a sick pump after that and the places that need it, and I'll work in exercises for a while. And then when those get stale, I'll switch up that stimulus and find something that's like same but different, and that's where I've been living for a while. I'd say the past year. And I just keep getting better. I keep running faster. And which honestly, like, there's part of me where it's like, okay, I can't give myself too much credit because the fact of the matter is like, I've probably always had the potential to run this fast. I just wasn't prioritizing sprinting, really. You know what I mean? Um, so, there is that. But I also know that like I've had periods of time where I trained a certain way and I showed up and it was just like water on a rock and I didn't get better. I did not get better. I just stayed stagnant. So it's been refreshing, and it's also been this really special learning experience where it's like I can thread the needle between having enough structure to prioritize the stimulus that I need, but enough flexibility to understand when that's appropriate and when it's not.
Yeah. I the more I think about it, and this is something I've definitely learned as I've gotten older, is it's like it's exactly what you said, like those really gifted athletes. And part of being gifted, I think, is it's a body that gains the needed structure relatively easily, like the needed rest reduction, the skeletal structure. They have that more readily than, not that they're perfect or instantly there, but they have it more readily than the less skilled. And
For sure.
less skilled just need more of that structured remedial work. But like on the level of the nervous system, like to get that, like that thing, like it's like if this is the goal of the day, and it's not even like found in sets and reps in some ways. It's more like, hey, did you get that really fast sprint, that really fast MPH, that game breaking play, that whatever
Bingo.
as in jump practice that made you feel good? Like that's like the thing. And I constantly think about, at least from that just like nervous system skill, like that kind of general piece of it all. I remember I this was a long time ago. Paul Chek had said something about like your body.
Call check, baby.
Paul Chek, your body adapts to whatever the most stressful thing of the day is. Maybe look at it
Yes.
like on that end. So whatever the hardest, the most like the thing your body needs to survive, if you want to look at it from that perspective, I think you can. But yeah, it's like almost like there's one thing that's like the biggest thing of the day, and then everything else is like, what do I need structurally?
Can I talk about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay, I've been having this conversation with Joel Padula. Again, I've brought him up twice now.
Yeah.
But he posted about this recently. And the minute he posted it, I was like, oh my God, dude, yes. So to your point, generally what we'll do, and the performance space or whatever, it's like, okay, you have your speed, like my max velocity day, and then you have your associated lifts and plyos that accompany that. Right? But that's like a big day. It's like it's like a 2-hour training session. It just is. It takes time. If you're resting adequately, warming up appropriately, and bringing your best effort to all of that, which again, like, are you, are you actually, can you stay dialed in for 2 hours like that? Some people can. I would argue most cannot. But you adapt to that most potent stimulus. But the thing is, what I've learned too, and maybe this is because I am getting older, I've stopped doing heavy compound lifts, anything other than like my ISO stuff and like my, I might do some like hamstring ISOs and stuff like that on my sprint days for multiple reasons. One, it took me days to recover. if I pair those things together. But I kept doing it because I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do, right? It's my high stimulus day. I've got to stack everything together and then do it. And I started really getting results when I just started the stimulus of the day. It was clear, it was crisp, it was undeniable with speed. I afford myself the opportunity to recover from that stimulus. Then I hit the strength. You know what I mean? And it's been a total game changer, not in just like the objective piece, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm getting faster consistently, more regularly than I ever have at a later age. But subjectively, Joel, I feel so much better. And there's just a thing that's like, if we're looking at it through Paul Cheff's eyes, right? From the perspective of Paul, he's right. Like, you can't adapt to everything all the time, all at once.
Yeah.
And I think that like, the interference effect is real, right? It just is. You can't throw all the ingredients into the pot. And like, I think that what happens is, like, we train athletes that are younger or gifted, and you're able to throw all those things at them and they adapt. But that doesn't mean that they're maximally adapting to any one specific quality, because I promise you, they're probably not. It's just you don't really know what ingredient is moving the needle the most, because it's all in the pot. Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it is interesting too. I feel like, you and I are of minds that we like having a lot of things in a program. Like, I've always, when I was at Cal, the swim coach told me, he's like, you got a lot of stuff in your he's like, I've seen programs where it's just like 4 exercises and you guys are doing like 20 things. And I was like, I don't know if it's a compliment, or maybe I do have too much stuff in there. I view it for swimming more like, this is general, so I'm not necessarily
Yeah.
gonna make any one thing stand out here, because I just want today to generally feel good. I want the feeling you get to feel activated, stronger, but not like, oh yeah, we really punched it on our squat today, and that's what's going to move. Yeah, I always felt like the water was going to move the needle for them, but that was a moment where I'm like, yeah, I really do like having a lot of things. These days, I try to narrow the amount of things, but I explore those things a lot of different ways, and maybe that's what I'm evolving with that. But yeah, it is interesting to think about. They say, like, as you get older, it's like consolidating and stripping away the excess. I'm like, well, I really like having a lot of things in a program. And the thing I was with you and the strength and the speed is the strength work you do after. Is it more like reps and pump oriented typically, or is it like heavy type work? Like, how does that shake out?
It's the same. It's from the same perspective as the speed day. It's like, what's the stimulus I need today? For me, the thing that's moved the needle the most, and we can get into like the hip knee dominant thing, but like, I spent most of my life squatting, lunging, and never really bending my knees. It was basically deadlifting twice, pushing through the heel,
Oh yeah.
Sitting my hips back, that whole thing. And of course, I'm sprinting, jumping, playing pickup basketball. Of course, I got jumper's knee,
Yeah.
horrible chronic jumper's knee, because I had the quads about as strong as a kitten's. Because I never bended my knees, and that's a whole another conversation we get into. It's like, when I found your podcast, the general consensus in S&C was like, you don't do isolation work. You definitely don't use machines. Don't load your knees up too much, because bad for knees,
Yeah.
and so anyway, my squat stimulus, dude, I've just been spamming the hack squat
Yeah.
for a while now. And it checks so many boxes for me, because like, what in my mind, what's the purpose of this main lift today? It's to get a strength stimulus. Okay. Well, what are the things that are important to me along the road of accomplishing that stimulus? Okay. I want a lot of output, right? And for me, I want to be able to do it as safely as possible. So high outputs, with as little risk as possible. And when I get in a hack squat and I can load it up, my back is against that pad, my shoulders, I've got all of this reference. We know that the relationship is between stability and instability. There's a direct correlation between force and output. There just is. The more stable you are, the more force you're going to lay out. And so what I can do is I can load that sucker up and I'll treat it just like you would with any other barbell lift. People are like, you just did 2 reps. I'm like, yeah, it's a squat. Don't think about what the tool is or the delivery mechanism. I'm just squatting. So I'll work up to a heavy double, maybe a couple back down sets, done. But I'm able to, Joel, absolutely send it, right?
Yeah.
And like what's happened as a byproduct of that is like intermittently I'll go and have a front squat day, and my front squat has been going up consistently. I mean, I hit a PR with shout out Jump Science Stan Bach a couple months back, and I forget what I hit. I think it was 335 on my front squat or something like that, deep. I mean, dunked it, and it moved quickly, and that was like a 20-pound PR or something like that for me on front squat. So it's moving the needle. It feels great. It's effective. It works well for me. I've got longer legs, squatting deep. Even when I do squat, like I'm elevating my heels so that I can kind of get the squat pattern, i.e. the stimulus for my quads that I'm looking for. And so that'll be like the main thing. I was doing a lot of hang cleans and power cleans for a while. I'm getting back from a shoulder injury. So just in that catch position, it's not on the menu for me right now. As soon as it is, Joel, I'm back. I can't wait. Cleans. I just love cleans, man. Yeah. Hang cleans, power cleans, and I actually don't even full clean that frequently. But there's just something about starting the session off and ripping some hangs and, pairing that with that broad jump or something like that. It's just fun, And there's an element of that training too, where it's like, if I can get jacked up about because like, honestly, man, it's not exciting to load up 5.5 plates on each side of that hack squat. Like that doesn't do it for me anymore. I'm not like, oh, I'm so excited to get under this hack squat, get this strength. Like it sucks kind of, Yeah. But it's like, that's what I need to do. And then the rest of it from there, Joel, is like I'll pick, some sort of secondary movement that I can really drive some output towards. Because at that point, if I'm honest, I'm not able to bring intensity, the kind of intensity that's going to drive adaptation by that time in the session. Like that time's over, and usually it'll be like a single leg RDL on the Smith machine or a landmine, or it'll be a Nordic or, something. It's like, I'm checking a hamstring box or just a movement box, a hinge box. And then from there, it's just, you talk about stripping things away. At that point, it's about addressing tissues that need TLC.
Yeah.
That is it. And like, it really just looks like bodybuilding at that point. So like a seated adductor machine for the groin, stuff's just absolutely phenomenal. You know what I mean? Going some like heavier standing calf raises on the Smith machine, maybe some leg extension, maybe some sissy squats, loading through rec fem and trying to get, so it really, I go from like output and a hang clean in a perfect world, strength stimulus and some sort of a squat pattern, a secondary hinge movement, and then the rest of it is like, it just looks like bodybuilding, but actually I'm really addressing tendons when you get down to it. It's like I'm addressing my groin, I'm addressing a little more hamstring, I'm addressing my Achilles, and I'm addressing my patella tendon, and making sure that I'm getting pump, I'm getting blood flow, and those things are just like, call it what you want, capacity, tissue health, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, there's no sets and reps there. Really, it's like maybe I'll do 2 rounds and I'm taking it 1 to 2 reps away from failure.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I was just thinking about the machines. You talk about the hack squat and folks like yourself, and then Pat Davidson talking about like the pendulum squat. Have really
so good.
Yeah. I mean, those things are massive. I would love one in my basement. I don't know if it fit, like,
no, it's like a monolith. Yeah. It's too much.
It is, but that's where I mean, I think, you talk about when we're in our 20s, or a lot of high-powered athletes can get away with stuff because they're in
Mhm.
their 20s, and there's a lot of stimulus, and it's just one of those things that I know for me and a lot of people who I would say, and like for me, like I wasn't like an innately, from a nervous system perspective, just that raw horsepower. I was not talented. I remember running the 200 meters when I was in 7th grade at this track meet, and just getting absolutely just dusted. But I was ribbons. It's probably buried in my parents' like basement or something. A ribbon. It's probably like 27.8 or something. I mean, it's such a bad time. Like it was not. It was. There was a long road of strength and power and force that would even get me in the ballpark of being fast. And eventually, I ran some decent 4x1s and stuff. But like, I mean, it was not. It was. It was. I'll just say, like, I was not that natural gifted horsepower athlete, but I found it's funny because I actually, in all my reminiscing, I made better gains. Like if I had a stim day, and it's like on the track we're doing acceleration, and I'm doing some triple jump or high jump, stimulating stuff.
Mhm.
We go in the weight room later. I actually did a little better if it wasn't like ramp up to like a heavy like double or triple in cleans, but it was like now what we did. I wouldn't say is perfect either. You talk about not having the perfect program. We did, and this was when I was in college. It was 3 sets of 10 cleans, and
Oh
so
my god!
it was terrible, right? Like, but if I won't look at it from a perspective of getting good at the clean, I'm rather looking at
Yeah.
it like it's almost like not I don't know if I wouldn't call that parasympathetic, but it's like a flush. It's more like a flush from what you did, and
Mhm.
you're doing it with your buddies, and you're feeling strong, and you're still activating those muscles. I mean,
Yeah.
clean the year I high jumped 7 feet was really, really bad. It was terrible. But I was so strong through all the specific stuff, like the foot and the ankle, and I was fast
Yeah.
in the track, and that was great. Well, where I'm just trying to go with this is I think it's like the Charlie Francis model, like you sprint fast and hit your heavy like set doubles and triples, your stim squats or whatever. And I think that is awesome. It can work, especially if you're a fast twitch and you can recover well enough. But I think like
Mhm.
if you just replace that for a lot of athletes with a machine, hack squat like 5 to 8 and get a pump, I think a lot of athletes would respond better just because
Yeah.
it sets you up. It actually doesn't take as much nervous system energy to be like, oh, I hope I don't miss this, like all that
Yeah.
type of thing. And so I've been thinking a lot more about it from that type of perspective, and at least recovering faster. And I know for me, a lot of times I mix my own these days. I put my weights on separate days from the stim, more so I
Mhm.
just go all in and empty the tank on that. And then I probably baby it a little bit on the weights days, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I think it can work out with you, so and get there. But
Well,
I
you know what I'll do? Are you still doing those creek runs, Joel?
I'll tell you what, it's been this year has been a lot less, more from the time constraint of getting out there. And every
Yep.
time I've gone, it's like so humid in Ohio, like I'm about to slip,
Brutal.
and then I just start running in the creek and not even on the rocks. Uh,
Yeah.
but but yeah, I'm due for a good one here soon, 100%.
Well, you know what I've started doing? So I've been hanging out with Alec Blennis too much,
Yeah.
and um, I'm starting this fitness competition. It's called Apex, and I'll tell you the events. It's a behind the head med ball throw for distance, full approach vert, broad jump, 40-yard dash. Okay, trap bar deadlift. There's 315 for men, 205 for women, AMRAP in 60 seconds. Bench press test for men, 225. Because I mean,
Yeah, oh yeah,
you know,
gotta have it.
come on,
Yeah.
got to. Women's, I think 95 or 105. I can't remember. And then it's an all-out mile
Mm.
to finish the event. So it's like combine meets heptathlon. I'm trying to come up with a scoring system. Honestly, it's just the way I like to train. And so I want to get other people excited about it. So I'm not doing it by myself. That's the God's honest truth. But man, for whatever reason lately, I've been, and you talking about creek running and just the stimulus you get on your feet and what it did for your Achilles.
Okay.
Well, a few years back, my girlfriend and I in Austin, there's hiking trails everywhere. And we started hiking very regularly, consistently. And I noticed that my lower legs started feeling better. And I would have some like every now and then my Achilles would piss off. And that almost went all the way away. And I'm like, I wonder if I'm just getting enough variability and variety. And, this is what I'm sure, Joel, if your mind's like me, it's relentless. I'm constantly thinking about weird shit like this. I can't just have a normal fucking hike. Excuse my French. I'm always, I'm
Yeah.
like, I gotta.
Oh, same.
And so learning to actually just shut up and like look at the birds or whatever, man. And so, but I went on a trail run the other 4 days ago with my girlfriend, and she was like, "So what do you want to?" She's like, "You want to go on a trail run?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she was like, "How do you want to do it?" I'm like, "All out." And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "We're gonna run this as fast as we can." So we ran like I think it was like a 2 mile trail run with quite a bit of elevation and 20 minutes. And I was like on the edge of puking. But man, it was awesome. And I felt great
Yeah.
after just being able to like let it rip. Um, and then I started thinking, I was like, man, maybe I'm just trying to sell myself a dream, but like that sure was a lot more fun than like running tempos,
Yes.
you know?
100%. Yeah.
And it and like, maybe from like a mechanical perspective, am I, you know, is it the same? No, but like, am I getting the kind of contacts that I'm looking for at the foot and ankle? Am I getting some, you know what I mean? So the reason I bring it up is just like, yeah, I want to know if you were still doing it and what your experience was, because I only ever remember you mentioning it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that and with the tempos piece, I think where I've replaced that is, and this is kind of to your point of your post sprint type work, is for
Yeah.
me on the day. A lot of it is like capacity work, but it's more like acute tissue based. Like it's foot, it's like calf, like an Achilles type work. Or
Yep.
it's like getting a few extra sprints in just to maintain like elastic, tendons and bones and stuff like that. Like, but what I do, and this is just a time saver, honestly, at least partly. But I have these big ass like Marv Marinovich Sports Science Lab discs with they're red and they have like a doorknob thing on the bottom. And I think people would outright just think balance and rehab, but
Yep.
they're awesome. And so I try to recreate that trail run, but actually amp it up in the perspective of I'll do like circles on one foot for like a minute until my legs burn or my like inside of my arch is burning, and then I'll go
Just cooking.
yeah. Then I'll go hop on the slant board, and then I'll go back, and I do that for like
Well,
5.
I see you do the hops on the slant. By the way, for everyone, shameless plug for Joel's Elastic Essentials. I'm still not all the way through it. It is so good.
I appreciate
It's phenomenal. It really is. Dude, the amount, I kind of praise you for like 2, 3 minutes.
uh,
The amount of contribution you've had to this field between the podcast and your education, Joel, you're the GOAT, man. It's a blessing to have you here. It truly is. You put out great, great stuff, man. And you've consolidated that education in a way that's digestible. And it's like these are complex things, and you make it easy for people to understand and digest. And it's stellar. I promised myself 6 months ago I would have it done in a month. Nowhere close, because life.
it's a
But
lot.
it is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal course.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate that, Tim. Thank you. Yeah, took a long. I know it can take people a while to go through. It took a long time to put together too. So that
I bet.
really means a lot to me. Yeah, with the foot stuff with that, yeah, and that's where a lot of ideas from that have kind of come up to this like if I can get that stimulus, the creek run, which is the variability, and
Yep.
I need that. You talk about your knees and lower legs, and I do think that's
Yeah.
where I think I've replaced a lot of we're in my 20s, I could handle, and I shouldn't say, I go back to the 3 sets of 10 cleans. Don't do 3 sets of 10 cleans. I mean, you can. Like, a lot of the best meets I had, at least some of the best meets I had, that was in the fall.
Hmm.
It's like that slow, steady moving the needle with
Hmm.
adapting to the sprints and the jumps and the tempo sprints the most, but then that was supporting it heavily. And even higher rep squats. I mean, we started with 3 sets of 12, 3 sets of, and I tell you, I mean, that needle moved a lot with that because the main thing was the sprinting. And for me, with the way I was just wired, I needed that capacity to adapt. Like I
Yes.
needed the 3 sets of 12. Honestly,
You needed the structure.
I needed it. I had to have, and that was a person too, where, you talk about following programs to the T. I was the opposite. I hated following programs. The only thing I followed was Air Alert back in the day, if you know Air Alert, which was like,
Dude, of
well,
course.
oh yeah. I mean, I'm like, I don't know what year cuts that kind of cut off. When I was, going to college and high school, everyone talked about Air Alert, and
Well, dude, I would have the Slam magazines. I was obsessed with basketball. All right. And between Air Alert and then the Jump Sole shoes, there was always, you know what I'm talking about? The shoes that had the platform on them and your heels could never touch the ground.
oh yeah, oh
I
yeah.
think they were called Jump Soles. Um, I would beg my mom for those. I'm like, Mom, order these out of this magazine. She's like, no, I'm not buying those. You know what I mean? We didn't have the money, frankly, but I wanted them so bad. I think about Error Alert and that program and how many people's Achilles and patella tendons just never made it.
Yeah.
You know, just a rest in peace. Yeah.
For me, it just got too hard. Like, and it's funny because I mean, I'll grind through stuff. But I remember it was like it starts you out pretty easy. Like it's a teaser. It's like the first week is like, oh yeah, you got this. It's like 20 squat jumps, like 20 leap ups, and then it very quickly those leap ups. That was the worst one too. Go up to like 100. And it's like
Oh,
100 half squat jumps is no joke. And it kind of you get into some like very mental and emotional and maybe even
dark
spiritual
place.
elements with how you actually progress going out of that. And like whoever gained 12 inches, that one person who did 500, I don't know. It's it's like the Hindu squats, right? Those wrestlers who wake up and
Yes.
do that. There's something else I don't know. I quit. I'm just saying I quit. And whenever it got to like 50 or 100, I'm like I'm not doing this anymore. But I gained 2 or 3 inches like on my jump, in the initial phases of that. And then I'm like dumb and then
Yeah.
what helped me was this book, The Science of Jumping, which wasn't as ubiquitous as Air Alert, but it was like the thing I loved was here's the workout and I did it and it really pumped it up. Like I read the book, I was like, this is the holy grail. But it's like you do this when you fully recover. And so like, I can pick my recovery times. And I threw in sprint work in there and I just took off doing that.
Speaking of jump programs, I did your vertical. Is it what? Oh my God, I'm going to butcher your book's name now.
Like,
Is it Vertical Foundations
oh,
or
yeah,
Integrate?
Vertical Foundations is the old, like the paper one, and then the Ignition was an ebook.
I read it, and then there was a program, and I remember doing that. I think this was 5 years ago. That was a while back, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, there was Ignition was 2015 or
Might have been Ignition I did, dude.
Yeah, it might have been. I don't sell it actually anymore as an ebook.
You don't?
I took it off.
Yeah. Is it your philosophy's just changed a lot, or
it was too confusing? In my opinion, I mean, for the average, like I was like,
yeah,
why can I not write just a program? Just here's the program. It's almost like I was insecure to the point I always had to have these bumpers, like, oh, you get to pick. And I mean, again, I was referencing me liking to pick the days you train, but it's like here's the work.
totally.
You can do them this many times a week. Just wait till you recover. And I think it might have been slightly an out for me to be like, well, if you don't get results, well, you must have picked the wrong thing or so, what?
Yep.
Like, I don't know. But
It's funny, Joel. A lot of people, because I sell online programs, and that's a struggle that I think anyone who cares about their craft and what they do goes through, because like you want to set people up for success. And as a coach, I'm thinking about the scenarios that people are going to run into. I'm like, well, if they're feeling this or that, then maybe it's best if you move. And in an effort to be helpful and to try and give people options, you totally fucked them over. Excuse my French again, sorry. But you totally set them up for failure. And it's the irony of that is like half this podcast has been talking about training with some intuition, but like there's also this place where it's like Pat Davidson says state troopers get to speed on the highway.
Mhm.
Most people are just not there. Like you actually need to train within structure and to have someone, and that's what most people want, by the way. They want certainty, or at least the illusion of it, of like, here's the program, do the program.
Yeah.
And they say, great, thank you, tell me what to do. Because they don't know what to do. They haven't acquired that intuition piece yet.
Yeah.
And then for the people, what I've come to realize, I'm like, the people like myself, like you, who have been doing it for a while, or maybe just naturally operate on that intuitive piece. Maybe they haven't had to grew themselves up years and years and years on top of each other to learn the lesson, to find that intuition. They're just going to do that anyway. They're just going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
They're going to take your program and do their version of it.
100%. Yeah.
But it took me years to feel comfortable with saying like, look, this is what I think is best given these contexts and these exercises. Here you go.
Yeah.
It took time.
That's such a good point. With if they're like that, they're going to do it anyways. I remember
They're going to do it anyway.
this was not too long ago. It was someone I was training, very high level record holding pole vaulter, and then
Is it Sonder?
yeah, and yes,
let's go.
And I would see him posting like on his Instagram, and he's like doing like max cleans. I'm like, wait, I didn't write that in the program, but like, I mean, honestly, if you're doing it, you probably need it, And so
Yes.
I'm not going to argue with you, like, and so
And how old is he?
I mean, now he's probably 26. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's doing that once he's like in his early mid
Oh yeah, yeah.
20s.
He's trained.
He's just with the boys. He's like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. Like, of course he's doing that.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, it's a lot of that is just going to come up naturally, 100%.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back to, it's funny because I was like, okay, where were we before? And I had some trail I was going to follow, but I was going to say where I think this was back to like the remedial stuff and the foot stuff, is I think where back when I would recover like a 20-year-old, there was a lot more room for like I did the max sprints and jumps, and then I'll even this was some of my best track meets was like heavy doubles or singles on like a 2/3 squat, like not all the way down, down to still explode hard, but not like a quarter squat where you're not getting not a lot of muscle necessarily involved. Or I don't know, not that if you're peaking, it's probably fine, but like that really elicited some of the best gains. But it's almost like now I've had to dump that energy into stuff that keeps my tendons and joints and knees.
Yes, dude. It's been a reallocation of funds.
Exactly. And if I have more time, if my family didn't mind, if it's 7:00 and I missed dinner, I'm still doing calf circles in the then I would do that. And it's just to see what moves the needle there. But yeah, random question. I was going to ask you, Tim. I wanted to do a couple of these like kind of fun, what would you top fives at the end? But if you had a garage gym, I was just thinking I could see your garage gym having like a hack squat weights, a hack squat, and a adductor machine. Would that be like full cycle right there?
That would be pretty damn close.
Yeah.
My ideal gym situation, it would be like an Eleiko half rack with the dual cable attachment. I know this because I almost purchased it the other day. I very well still may. Big shout out to Eleiko. Still can't believe they sponsor my podcast. And I would also get a hack squat. Yes, you're right. And then probably like a really high quality seated leg curl / seated leg extension, and if I'm looking at footprint, I mean, honestly, a Smith machine would be ideal if I could make that work in there. It might be kind of impossible. But and then like some dumbbells and an ab wheel, honestly, like a couple of med balls. And I hate to say it, but maybe like an assault bike. Just
I've been getting bigger on assault bikes. Honestly, Tim, I mentioned like I would put one in my basement gym here. Like I would. I think it's awesome. So
they're sweet, and man, nothing will from a cardio stimulus. If you're really trying to take it, to the limit or do some intervals, there's nothing worse. I don't think that there's anything more effective. I mean, maybe a Jacob's ladder, I don't know, but man, it can really kick your ass in a short amount of time, that assault bike.
Yeah, I think for people who like were CrossFit or that mentality rubs them the wrong way, and you see people like just like they're just head down,
right?
That you see that it's like, oh yeah, like I remember it was Kyle Wall. I don't know if he was on my podcast. I think I was on his, and he was just talking about, hey, someone's got some sort of issue or a mobility test is not great, and he just talked about sticking them on an assault bike for 10 minutes and that fixing a fair amount of superficial issues. And I was like, that makes sense. I'm going to start doing that.
It does.
Like, so yeah,
it does make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my gym setup, I think. Oh, and by the way, an adjustable basketball goal just outside of the garage door, which I have for low rim dunks. Yes.
That is it, man. I tell you, that's the one thing, like I live on a hill. And so there's a hill right outside my garage, which is really cool. Like, especially in the winter, like sandbag carries up and down and stuff. It's
hell yeah.
Team. But the thing I mourn is I don't have a good place to have a hoop. And I don't know, like, have you seen that dunk camp? It's like the 4 bells. It's like you jump and there's like.
For sure. That thing, I want that thing.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Andy, sponsor this podcast and Tim's. Well, that thing is amazing. It's amazing.
It is badass.
Yeah. It's so I'm like, I can't do a dunk. Like that's I don't know because there's just something like, even we talked about sets and reps, right? Like I could program, hey, do 10 jumps on a vertex, and it's like okay, like,
Yeah.
and you maybe do 3, and I kind of got it at the highest, and I grind it out trying to get a few higher. But it's like there's a
Yep.
big difference between that and like, ooh, I rung the bell, and then there's like the next level. It's like you're leveling up, and like,
Yes.
but of course having people around too, and I go and you go, like it's just the nature of
Hmm.
what you bring is it kind of trumps that exact little prescription, especially with that stuff. So yeah, I want the best or lower rim
Agreed.
dunk, of course, lower rim dunks. Like who
Yes.
goes into a low rim dunk session and says, I'm gonna get 20 contacts in, I'm gonna do
Yep.
10
5 on my left leg, 5 on my
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I'll do 4 to 6 full approach. Yeah, right. Stop it. Just go in. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it lasts a little bit here. As I did want you mentioned it with machines, but I did want to
Yeah.
ask as well, like you're in terms of, and maybe let's just talk like maybe more like the higher end athletes you train, machines versus free weights. Like, what's the balance there with them? Because obviously a lot of them pretty strong. A mix of things. Like, how do you approach that kind of triad of like Olympic lifts, regular lifting, and then machines with those
Mhm.
guys?
Yeah, so I don't even look at it like this thing that I'm balancing where it's like it's like a pie chart, where it's like, oh well, I need to get some of this on this and some of this on that. Much rather it's zoomed out where the principle I'm operating from, I say this a lot. My girlfriend was in the room, she would puke in her mouth. I don't want to be right, I want to get it right. And I want to find, I'm not worried about the tool or the delivery method. What's the stimulus we need to get for this person, this group? And then, and like, this is something I don't think is talked about enough, but like, based on what equipment is available to us, whether that be a machine, body weight, or free weights, what's going to help? Let's say if it's a group, like if I have a group of 6 to 8 athletes, like, but we only have one machine or something, like maybe that's not maybe that's not what I'm picking because it doesn't make sense within the context of the efficiency of that group and keeping a flow and making sure things are moving well. Um, so all of those things play a the context and the stimulus and the context of the training session play a much larger role in going into what I decide to use rather than like in my mind of like, oh, it's a free weight, it's a machine. Like those things for me largely don't exist. It's like given the context, what is the stimulus I'm trying to get? That's going to inform me, as to what the best selection is going to be. Um, so like there are times where like I would like to use a chest press, a machine chest press, particularly if it's that pressing motion for the day is it's not like our main lift, which by the way, I've done machines as the main pressing lift in programs, worked wonders. It was fantastic. Um, so like maybe I prefer that over just a dumbbell bench press, you know? Um, but let's say I have a group of 6 guys and I'm not trying to take up half the gym, right? We're just gonna do dumbbell bench, We're gonna do dumbbell bench. And that's fine. Because I think that also another thing that like, you know, particularly with those higher level guys, the at the end of the day, if you're and particularly if it's not like a main movement, as long as they're getting close to failure and there's a bit of effort and they're getting that feeling that comes from the adequate stimulus for what we're trying to accomplish, we've done it. We're good. Like we're probably good. Um, and then like it's like how much isometrics should I do? How much, quote unquote fascially, informed movement do I do? How much am I prioritizing more like global movements as opposed to isolation stuff? And instead of operating from this place that's like, well, I have to do some of that and I have to do some of this because like you, Joel, you talked about having like a lot of stuff in the program. Well, my program would get so messy because I would feel bound to the preconceived notion that I have to have something to check every little bucket of all the things that are real important. And if I don't, I'm missing something. And if I'm missing something, I'm a bad coach and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. That is, it couldn't be farther from the truth. It still always goes back to, what are we trying to accomplish? What's going to help them feel the best? What's going to help them? What's going to set them up for success later in the week and within the context of the entirety of the program? So like, yeah, we're doing heavy bilateral stuff, but we're also doing foam roller bridges. We're doing a leg extension, but we're also doing deep tier alternating lunge jumps, and it's based solely on feel, and we're going for time instead of reps. So what's happened, and look, there's no perfect program, and certainly I'm not I'm not delusional, man. I'm just another guy out here training athletes, right? But what's happened is, like, I have a lot of diversity and variety within the context of a session most days, not as a byproduct of like making that to priority, as a byproduct of just trying to find the things that are going to make the most sense to drive the best adaptation for the athlete. So I'm not doing it just because I need to do it, because it's like that's the thing to do. It's a byproduct of just trying to be of maximum service to the athlete and, get the best results.
Yeah. I think very similar mentality as you're talking about that. I was thinking about, my mentality, like the 20 exercises in the program with Cal swimmers. It's like, I want to superset every main thing with other things I feel can help you. And I would look at really like Cal Dietz's old programs. I haven't looked at his new programming so much in a while, but back in the day, like when triphasic was coming out, it's like
the contralateral stuff.
Oh yeah, that, and like every exercise is superset with like I don't want to say prehab isn't a good word, but you know what I mean.
Yes,
that's just weak link type training. Like everything is like, it's trying to make it as rich and dense as possible. And I think almost greater than, I guess, the NSCA textbook type mentality is. And Austin Yoakum has said this a lot, like stimulus is stimulus. It's like, see it as stimulus first, like what you're talking about there. And then also like richness. And it's like, maybe instead before we just dig into or alongside all the textbook stuff, it's like, can you see and feel stimulation? And then I think richness, it kind of goes alongside it, because if it's rich, they're going to be stimulated. So yeah, I agree. And it is something too, where I think it's, you don't learn that in the textbook. You feel it from the athletes. Are they
100%?
Yeah, good stuff, man. Well, hey, I'm sorry we ran out of time here, and I'm like, man, I think we just got into like that second or third question I had, which was your mentality. What are you thinking about when you're training? So you answered that. Thank you. But hey, I love the conversations where I only get through, probably like 2 of the actual questions, because it's just.
Well, it's a wonderful excuse for you to have me back on. And then, of course, I've got to get you out to Austin, man. We got to train. Yep. Let's go to the track. I want to do some of this foot and ankle stuff you're doing. It'll be a great excuse for us to exchange ideas. I know you're busy with a big family and big, beautiful life up there, but I'd love to steal you for a day or two.
Yeah, especially in the fall, man. I'll take it when Austin's, I'll
October, chef's kiss down here.
I've heard it's the best, or like people who visit in the fall or the spring, but then it's the summer. It's like, oof. Like
it's rough. I'm not going to lie to you. This ginger skin at the track, I see my dermatologist every 6 months. I really do. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, you can teach me how to send it on the hack squat too. I'm looking forward to that. So
nothing would make me happier. It's my favorite thing to do. Baptism by hack squat. Yes.
Prepping. That'll be one of my training sub goals. Thank you so much, Tim. I know you got to go. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother.